I'm John Altschuler.
I'm Scott Bennett. We've known each other for almost 50 years.
We grew up together on the playground.
And now we're in the foreground and still growing up.
From the playground to the foreground.
Join the conversation. Okay, episode 4. I'm Scott Bennett. He's John Altschuler. It's from the playground to the foreground. Hey, John, what's up?
Good morning.
It is morning. We haven't done a morning
That's right.
episode, so this is a little different. We'll see how we do.
Yeah. You nervous?
Yeah, well, it's early. It's early. We're not all warmed up, but how's your week been?
Been fun.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Anything exciting?
Lots of golf.
Lots of golf. Yeah, well, good. More than me. Well, I brought you a present. I've been real excited. It's been hard to keep it under wraps, but doesn't seem like much, John, but you know what this is?
I do.
I think in our last episode with the Jure, we were talking at the end about working out. 2 of the 3 of us actually fulfilled that promise and had a workout yesterday. And this is the pin I mentioned that I didn't know marked the amount of weight. And you can ask Jure separately, but we had a great workout yesterday. And I wanted to let you know that I do know my way around a weight room. And,
how is that machine functioning now without that apparatus?
Here's the thing. I'm not going to tell you where I took it from. And I'm pretty sure that the building, they have cameras. So I should be getting a text about where the pin is.
Is it from a closed school?
No, it's from the building where I live. There's a gym. I would loosely call it a gym. It's very dark, but Jure and I are working out in various environments. And I'm pretty sure there's not many people in that gym, so they're not going to miss this. I might be the only person that was worked out there all week.
Yeah.
So anyway, we had a great workout, enjoyed Jure, and have seen him a couple times. So thank you for that introduction.
Oh, sure.
And I thought, as I mentioned, it's morning, and this morning I was doing the very mundane task of folding my own laundry. We won't get into why that was the case, but when I say folding my own, I fold my laundry a lot. Sometimes Lee does a better job for sure. I'm very just haphazard at it. But I thought as I was doing it, I remembered there was a commencement address. It's been now 10 years from Admiral McCraven. You're familiar with that, right?
Yes.
And he mentions in that address, it's his commencement address to the 2014 graduating class of UT, that basically in Navy SEAL training, that 6-month intense training, it's 10 things that he learned during that training that he wanted to pass on to the graduates. And he started with item number 1, which was making the bed and the importance of that. So first of all, do you make your bed?
I do not.
Have you ever made your bed like when you were a kid?
Probably, but not much.
Yeah. Well, he talks about why that's important and that it profoundly struck me. I'll be curious to see you're familiar with it, but he sort of mentions that the reason it's important to him is one, it's a very simple task, but if you accomplish your bed by, tight corners, clean lines, a pillow in the middle of the headboard, that while it seems like a very basic task, you've accomplished that first thing of the day. And if you've done that, you've done something. And then if you layer those things on in the day, that you start building on that. So that's one. The other thing he mentions is that at the end of the day, if you've had a terrible day, you can come home to a made bed. So I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. I don't know where my laundry led to that, but thoughts about that?
I mean, I've heard the speech. It just never really resonated with me. I don't make my bed. Don't want to make my bed. Don't.
Is your bed made? I mean, like when you get home, do you get into a bed?
We have a housekeeper twice a week. So the bed's always made then.
Yeah.
And then occasionally Lori seems to want to do that and she'll make the bed. But I don't care if I go into a made bed or an unmade bed.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sleep.
Well, I'm with you, but Lee is a huge maker of the bed. In fact, if I make the bed because of that, like if she, depending on who leaves first, I know that she appreciates that. So I'll make the bed, but I will purposely leave something ruffled. And I notice that it has been inspected by the end of the day so that if I see it later in the day, she has corrected my work.
That's good.
Yeah. So our guest today is my dear friend, Jennifer Young. She's most importantly a mom of 4 amazing kids. She's a sales leader for Ebby Halliday, so very well versed in all things real estate. She's a civic leader. I think she knows more people than I know, and she's been in Dallas less time. But she's an all-around involved person, and I think a really excellent person to talk about balance with. And it was obvious to me who I wanted to have that discussion with. So I'm excited for you to meet her, but also to our viewers, our fans. So really looking forward to the conversation. You can find us on social media at Playground Foreground.
Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel and subscribe.
Jennifer, thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen you in a little while. We moved. We're neighbors, and I'm so
Very
happy to
sad.
see you. I would say we weren't seeing each other because we're so busy, and makes sense. But just curious, how's your summer been?
Summer's been good. I don't really feel like I have summers anymore. Now that my kids are out of school, it's a little different. But one of my daughters moved back home, starting SMU Law School. So that's fun to have her around. So it's been a little different.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And she's living at home.
She's living at home this year.
Yeah.
It's the most
first year.
credentialed law school class at SMU, this entering class.
Really?
Yes.
I love that. Well, she worked hard to get herself a little scholarship there. So
Good.
we're
Yeah.
excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I often say to you, and as we get into our topic, and I've mentioned this to many of my friends, that when I meet any of the children of the young family, I always say that's my favorite child. I think you've heard me say
I
that.
say the same thing
Yeah.
to each other.
I can't decide because your children are amazing in their own right, each of them doing great things. And I wanted to have you here today to meet John. I've been wanting to do this, so we thought what better place than our podcast. And by the
Yeah, I
way,
love
you're
it.
our first female guest.
Thank you. I love that. Thanks for including me.
My daughter said we should be calling females women.
Yeah, I knew that was going to come up. What's right? What's right to you, actually?
Gosh, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Women, I guess.
My daughter's point is that we don't refer to men as males. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll
I just want to make sure it's on you and not
I
me.
think,
when
yeah.
she sees this.
well, when she watches it, I'm going to hear about that, and also that I didn't bring her anything
Right.
after her back
She's
surgery.
so sad.
Yeah, I think it depends on the female or woman.
Yeah.
Some people have a preference and their reasons for that. I wouldn't say I do.
And I think for our generation, and I'm not aging any of us, it's all of this time is confusing. I don't want to deviate from our topic,
Yeah.
but it is a little confusing and what to say. And when
Absolutely.
I struggle with that. I tell people all the time. But the other thing I want to say, Jennifer, is thank you, because this is the first time John's worn pants. And I asked him just a few minutes ago why you're wearing pants. And John, what was your reason?
I just wanted to signal I was taking it really seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the guest.
Yeah.
I love that. Thanks.
Yeah. Does that
Appreciate
mean when
that.
the guys are here and you're wearing shorts, you take them less seriously than?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Then we'll
It's
get Jennifer.
elevated today.
Yes.
right?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
I love it.
elevated.
I love it.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about balance, and I'm just curious, when I sent you and invited you, and I know you had to move some things around, so thanks. But the topic, did it resonate? What did it mean to you?
Yeah, it did. I think I've thought about balance not at all at times in my life, and then I've thought about it a lot at times in my life, and I think it's a challenging thing. I filter through balance through a couple of things that I try to live by, and as you know, I'm a Christ follower, so that's kind of everything's filtered through that. But loving God and loving others, and so those are the most important things to me.
Right.
And so everything else kind of falls under that. So that's kind of how I consider balance at a high level. My family has always been first after that, after loving God and loving others, and they're the people right in front of me. So I try to, even if I am working a lot, I answer my kids' phone calls, even still in the middle of the day. I mean, I'll try to say, hey, I'm in a meeting, I'll step out in a minute. I try to, because I want them to know that their needs are super important to me. So that's what balance looks like to me right now. They're grown-ups, and grown-up problems are sometimes bigger than little kid problems.
Right.
They might have been calling me for the VCR not working back in the day when we had VCRs, right? But today they're calling because they're, one's applying to med school and she needs something right then. So I try to, that's balance. If my husband calls during the day, I definitely answer because he never calls me during the day.
Right. You know it's important.
I know it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's those are some thoughts I had right off the bat.
Yeah. Well, good.
It's changed through the years, I would say.
And I mentioned the topic to you. What did it, we talked about it. What's your thoughts about balance?
I feel like conventionally balance centers around work-life balance.
Right.
And I feel like our society is a bit wimpy on that.
Right.
Keep in mind, my mother, Patricia, who you know,
Yes.
her mother was dead at 4, her dad was dead at 10. So she was raised hard scrabble, and we just weren't raised with a bunch of like these kinds of feelings of like, I got to worry about my balance.
Right.
We got to worry about we have to worry about performance. It's kind of how she was raising us.
Right.
So balance in general, as it relates to work life, has never resonated with me. But balance makes a lot of sense at the same time. There's all sorts of things you can balance
Yeah.
that matter. So I don't like this to sole focus on work-life balance, which is what I think our society has focused primarily around the concept.
Yeah. Well, I think, I've my own life, and especially more recently, people ask me like, how do you do all these things. Like last night I was at the movie with my little brother from Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I had a workout with Dre an hour before that, and I had 4 meetings yesterday, and I found 2 hours in the morning to sort of do some personal stuff, including exercise before Dre. I had 2 workouts yesterday, by the way.
Incredible.
Yeah, I know. Look at me.
Yeah.
But the point is, I don't think there's any such thing as balance. And when I thought about you and of course John, I think we talk about high performers, high functioners, and people ask me, and I just, as is my life, especially the last 455 days, it's I'm on bonus time, so I maximize time, I make time. And I tell people that it's an intentional thing. And I think we all do that. I mean, I know you both pretty well. I think we make time, right? We don't really have balance, but it may look like to others we're pretty well balanced.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. And I think I agree with John in that, like, sometimes we're just surviving, right? Like when my kids were little and I literally had 4 babies, like I was not thinking about balance. I was just putting out the fire that was in front of me because I had to keep these kids alive, and out of danger and raise them up. So sometimes it looks different phases of life.
Yeah.
I think there was a big...
Was that before you moved to 75248?
That was before I moved to 75248. Yes. We were living in Louisiana then, Baton Rouge, Louisiana at that time. So yeah. But now I think I think about it a little more in that, like, I don't speak love to my husband when I'm looking at my phone and he's talking to me. That's a big point in our marriage. And so I put down my phone so that I can listen to him. That's balanced.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good.
Yeah.
It's a good concept.
I've learned the hard way.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good. I think we could probably all do better, especially with the phones and how pervasive they are in our everyday lives. I mean, I think we all are like worried about it. Where is it? Who's buzzing me? And we're texting and we're
absolutely.
It's sort of thrown off any idea that you can maintain.
Right. And especially in real estate, because it happens 24/7, and my agents need me at 10 at night. But that's the only time I have to talk to my husband sometimes too. So I had to learn, I put my phone on silent at 9.
Yeah. I do the same. Would you like to be our guest?
Or is there someone you would like to see on the show?
DM us through social at Playground Foreground.
We look forward to hearing from you.
So obviously in your real estate world, I know a lot of your job has to do with coaching and leading others. And it's a question I think John does the same. How do you take on that topic? There's a lot of time management, organizational, skills and abilities. What do you think about that? How do you impart that?
I really try, from my experience, because I was in sales myself. And so I had young kids when I was in sales and managing all that. And so I didn't always do it the right way. So I've learned from my experiences and not doing things the right way to help my agents now create space, create boundaries, if you will. Because literally, if you, there are certain clients we have that if they text you at 10 o'clock at night and you respond, you're texting them till 12 midnight. And it's not an emergency. You've opened the door for that. So I try to help my agents understand that, especially I have several one of my top producers has 3 kids. You'll know who I'm talking to you, but, I tell her often, cause she's, especially summer's really hard. She's a top producer, does really well. She's an excellent agent. And, but she's trying to balance her kids, right? They're important to her. Family's important to her. And so, kids are screaming in the background and she's stressed out. And she said, I just can't keep up with the laundry. I'm like, pay someone to fold your clothes. Like, be there for your kids, but pay someone to fold your clothes. Like, find the things that you don't have to do. Some things like that.
That's good advice, actually.
Yeah, and that's more life advice than sales advice. Yeah. But that's what coaching is. I spend a lot of time listening to what's going on in their life, because if I can help them figure out life, then their sales production will be better as well.
So Jennifer, John and I were talking earlier about this commencement speech at University of Texas by Admiral McCraven. Mm-hmm. And he mentions in that speech about making your bed. So the question is, you mentioned folding the laundry, telling somebody else to do it. First of all, do you make your bed every day?
I do make my bed every day.
Always you?
That's a funny question. And I thought you were asking this because you'd heard my husband and I have this discussion. So I'm going to tell you a quick story about this. And I'm sorry, honey, I'm throwing you under the bus. But so we have a dinner time question at our house always. Like when our family gets together, we love a dinner, we've done that with you as well when y'all been over for dinner. So one of my daughter's favorite question is, what is off brand about you? Okay. So what's something that people wouldn't expect about you? So one night we were having this discussion and my husband, who's amazing, says, well, I heard Admiral speak at the, and he talked about making your bed. So I decided to start making the bed, which I'd been making the bed for years.
Right.
Okay. He decided to start making the bed. And, I had to throw in that he makes his half of the bed.
So he makes only half the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because you don't get out at the same? I don't understand. Like you just would you do? My question to Chris would be: is that like how you do everything? You just do your half. You just do your half. Sounds like my daughters.
As you can imagine, with 4 grown kids at the table and a daughter-in-law, he has never lived down that statement. So, we're not sure why he does his half of the bed, but it's a step. He used to not make it at all, so he makes half now. So it's great. I just make my half.
Well,
I'm usually out of the bed earlier than him, so I just make my half now. It works. Hey.
I admire it. I mean, I'll really admire it if he continues to make this half of the bed after seeing the episode.
John would like to meet him.
I promise you, he will continue making his half of the bed. And I love you for it. It's great.
I do want John to meet him. For a long time, I wanted that. So maybe this will be the catalyst.
He needs to get back on here for retribution, probably.
Right. I'm actually curious. You said something, and John, what do you do? I mean, you're also a leader. You guys share that, right? You're leaders in real estate, in different facets of real estate. You've been running a successful firm for many years. How do you impart those organizational skills, time management skills? What do you do? I mean, like, what is unique to what you're
One, I set an expectation of when we're supposed to be working.
Right.
And in my mind, we're working from 8 to 6.
Right.
So I mean, it's not unreasonable. It's not massive sums of time. It's just 8 to 6. And so I make it real clear to my young people that, hey, if something comes in at 7 p.m., you don't have to respond at 7, but you damn sure better respond exactly at 8 a.m. Mm-hmm. And when people don't do that, I lose my mind.
Yeah.
And it's happened several times this summer. And people will watch this and they'll know who they are. But you got to go from 8 to 6. So I create like the expectation of when we're going to be working.
Yeah.
And then just make sure people understand like what's a good way to spend your time during the workday. Mm-hmm. And I think that's making phone calls, following up with people, following through, and repeating just over and over and over.
Yeah.
So
it's really, I know you're, you've started a lot of careers, and I think you have really added to a lot of careers. I know I had the luxury of recently selling my home under the auspices of your leadership with a pretty new agent. Mm-hmm. She knows who she is, who I think I told you along the way, I gave you feedback because we're so close, and she was awesome, by the way. So it's really awesome to see what your friend, and she did not have a previous real estate background. Yeah.
So nor did I when I started.
Yeah. So she was a rookie, and you poured into her, and she was incredible. Really by the book. And I've started a new career, so we shared that, how we can be better. So really interesting. I want to shift gears a little bit. And John mentioned 75248. I'm sure you'll have a question about this, but why did you move to 75248?
Oh, that's a good question. So when we were moving here from Louisiana, first of all, I did not want to come to Texas. Especially Dallas. Right. Big hair, concrete. Didn't want any part of it. Right. But we decided it was the best move. My husband got a great job here, and we could send our kids to public school. Right. That was huge because we were not going to be able to do that in Louisiana where we were living. So we started scoping out the area. And my sister, my brother-in-law actually had been on staff at Dallas Bible Church, which was right in 75248. And she had said, you really should look at Pierce. Like it's a great community, a great neighborhood. So we kind of started scoping it out, and I loved everything that I saw. We also had been involved with Young Life. Right. My husband, that's how we met. We've been involved with Young Life for years. Knew that Pierce had a strong Young Life, and Richardson area Young Life is something we still get back to, and we're on the board there. So that's how we ended up there, and looked at schools where our kids could walk to school, central in the area, close to my husband's work. I didn't know where I was going to be working at the time. Then it's been amazing for our family. Our kids, I could not have scripted a better high school experience for my kids.
I'm curious how that strikes you. I obviously was a native. I think when my family made the decision to move to Hawthorne Drive, as far north as Dallas went was Campbell Road. Like everything was fields, according to, I was real little, so I don't know, but it wasn't much north, like real development.
That's where the rich people lived. Phase 2, Hans North.
That's true. I know. By the lakes, right? We used to, that's what we,
They were the rich people.
I know. Yeah. I know. We used to like to get invited over to their houses.
That's right.
Yeah, they're bigger.
Pools and stuff. You didn't have a pool, right?
No way.
Yeah, neither did I. So, so I obviously, I'm curious now that you made that choice. Is it still an area? It's still an area. I mean, I just moved from there, but it's still thriving, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And
even since Scott left?
Even it's, it took a little dip, but we're bouncing back, I think, with Scott leaving. We loved Scott. But Lee was actually one of the first people I met when we moved here. So it was just a welcoming community.
Were you on the same street?
One street over.
We could cut through. Mm-hmm. We could do the cut through. Yeah, we did the cut through.
Through the alley?
I actually, John,
you can go through your alley, but you can't cross the street and go through that group's side yard.
We did.
No, we did. And the lady, by the way, the lady has since moved, but she did not like it because our children would do it, and it was a whole ordeal. I mean, like this lady would lose her mind. She didn't have any children. She clearly did not.
So you weren't going through your alley to cross through.
I went through the alley.
That's different.
No, then she cut through somebody's yard.
I know, that's okay. I don't think you can cross the street and then go through their side yard, the alley. You can't do that.
There's rules about that.
I think that in that neighborhood, you can go back. You can go through your alley and through one more.
I got it. But you can't walk through the front.
Right.
Well, I had to do that to get to his house.
Yeah. We would do it. We would do it a lot. Like it's like, and it's interesting when I think about neighbors, right? And we all think about neighbors. In fact, I would tell you the saddest thing for Lee and I, quite honestly, was leaving them. Like, you're lucky if you have 5 or 6. We lived in that design of that neighborhood where the alley is really, because there was alleys. And I don't know, the rest of our viewers live in environments, especially new homes. So you're driving and parking in the garage and you're exiting the garage. And when we were growing up, we played in the front yard. Like we would go out the front. We knew our front neighbors, right? Your street neighbors that were across from you. In our neighborhood, I feel your alley neighbors are way more important, both for safety and quite frankly, we didn't love our like immediate proximity neighbors. So we held on to the youngs. But during the winter storm, John, we were, to your point, we were cutting through the one
Snowmageddon.
Snowmageddon.
Ted Cruz? The Ted Cruz one?
The encore, the beginning of the encore episode. Without
power for 2 weeks.
No power. We had
Ted Cruz left.
Well, fine. Yeah. We're gonna get into politics, but I know he went to Mexico. But we were going over to Jennifer's. We had power, and I think they had power. You did too.
No, we did.
The whole time?
We had power the whole time because we're on the grid of the school. Do not ask me why, but
we did not. We slept in front of the fireplace.
Yeah, you all did. But it's weird. We're one block apart, right? But the way the grid was in our neighborhood, I had power the whole time.
I don't think we had it either.
And after the power came back on, we were going over to their home on a Friday to have dinner and be together. And we were cutting through and I think carrying some items, and there was still ice on the sidewalk. This will not shock you. And through that cut through between the houses, I stepped onto a sidewalk as I was making way onto their block and slipped and took it on my shoulder and separated my shoulder.
No way.
Yeah.
He didn't know it. We gave him some wine and he was fine for a while.
Right.
To connect with today's guest, Jennifer Young, follow her on Instagram at JenDaleYoung.
And to learn more about Jennifer's work at Ebby Holiday, you can check out her website, jenniferyoung.ebby.com. As we think about where we all are and sort of our lives, where we're living, how we're living, our kids are growing, we have kids in college. What does the future in terms of a balanced life look like for you? I mean, do we all want to continue working? I know people start to get to that place of like retirement, what we want to do next. How do you think about that?
Well, I think my retirement plan is I got at least 11 more years to go. That's what my husband tells me. Anyway. That's his plan.
Yeah.
No, but I don't think we'll ever quit working altogether. I've got a lot I want to do the rest of my life.
Other things? Is there
other things, yeah. Yeah, I'm open to other things. I mean, I love what I do right now. Love it. Love coaching, love all the things. And as long as real estate's good in Texas, I'll be hitting it hard for the next several years. But I mean, I'm always learning and growing. And, I see a lot I want to do in retirement. My husband and I have lots that we would like to do.
Why have housing prices not fallen with interest rates up 300, 400, 300 or 400 basis points? Like, if they're up so much, why have prices not yet come down?
I think we still have a lot of buyers in the market. A lot of people still move. We're a great economy. People still moving here. We see them soften a little bit. I think sellers haven't wrapped their head around the new. environment, but I still think there's a lot of buyers out there. They want the perfect house. The not so perfect house is sitting a little longer.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's
A little bit longer, but it's still selling.
So John posted something and you wouldn't have seen it, but maybe you'll start following him on social media in our general neighborhood.
I did start following him actually, yeah.
So his parents live in the very close to Pierce in 7524, and he was talking about I'll let you talk about it, but like what your observation was about that neighborhood.
I've always felt like Highlands North and really the Pierce neighborhood was undersold and underpriced. I feel like the accessibility to all parts of Dallas is as good as you'll find in the city. And somehow the prices had never really caught up with that reality. But looking at Zillow, I was noticing that the prices seem to now have caught up to that. So
they have, yeah, for sure. It's a little challenging though as well, because a lot of people do move to our neighborhood for the elementary schools.
Yeah.
And if you think about the demographic of the, young family moving for the elementary school, it's hard to buy a $950,000 house.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So that's where the houses are now. And so that's why it's a little bit challenging in our neighborhood right now for that reason.
Yeah.
Because they have caught up.
Yeah. Because the entry level buyer has to have $200,000 or more.
Yeah.
That was my big epiphany. And again, you guys are the experts, but it's been like 90 days almost that we sold our house, and the realization, you could look at this a lot of ways. I know you guys do this and you position sort of a buy sell, like how you view it. As a guy who sold my house, I had a low interest rate. It was below 3. And I was like guarding that. That was one of the reasons I didn't want to move. And I think, John, we talked about that. I sort of told you my perspective. And then I realized that the day I closed, the guy that bought my home and the family that bought my home was paying 66% more to live there, including cost of ownership, than I was the day before.
Zillow says on my house that the person who buys my house next on that refinance payment is going to pay 3 times what I pay.
Yeah.
It strikes me as crazy.
It's just crazy. Like, I don't know. And the jobs aren't.
The depth of the market I question for that.
Yeah.
It's still a great time to buy a house in Texas though.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I fully believe that because I think it's a good time. People ask, what's the best time to buy a house? Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. If you can buy dirt in Texas, why not? Like, the economy's great. It's diverse. It's not dependent on one thing. It's dependent on several things. It's an easy place to move to. It was for me coming from an outsider. Like, I moved into 75248 where people had lived there forever, but there were all these new people too. So I didn't feel like the only newcomer, and I feel like a lot of Dallas is like that because we have so many people moving in and out. It's easy for you to find your place or to find people like you. And I think that I don't think home prices are going to fall like they might in other parts of the country. I think we just have a really strong market and we will continue to.
I think Dallas is the highest performing. Well, I think Dallas is the best city in the highest impact state in the most important country in the world. If you think about all those, like how that flows, it's like, hey, this is a good place to be investing in real estate.
Yeah. John and I have talked about this. We've had some conversations when we talked about when the Rangers won the World Series. And then there were some comments. There was like an op-ed about now we've arrived. And then John and I got into a little bit about our culture and, as natives. I
objected to that.
I know.
We were arriving a long time ago.
Yeah. John has said that. I want to, though, you pick up on something that you said, because it's easy to talk about real estate in terms of numbers and quantifiable. But when I thought about you as a guest, it's and certainly on the topic, like, how have you, if there's so much beyond the value of your home that you've gotten from the investment, right? Like you do, like, you found like a church, you have like I think you're in a book club, right? I mean, you do so many things that are like, they're intangibles, but they're really important. Like, It's more than just the price per square foot, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I remember, like I said, I came kicking and screaming. I grew up in a small town in Arkansas, then moved to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was used to like smaller areas. And so Dallas just felt big and concrete to me, honestly. But I drank the Kool-Aid. And specifically, I didn't really love the style of the houses in our neighborhood. I had to get around that because we didn't have front porches like we did in Louisiana, all the things. But as I think we'd been here maybe a year, and I loved the community. I saw the homes completely different because there was such a great community. So really, those are the intangibles. You buy a community and the people around you. So I'm involved in tons of things in the area that you can't put a price tag on.
I think about life being a series of decisions. And if I look at the 5 most important decisions I've made in my life, one of them has to be the street I chose to buy my house on, in terms of how it's impacted my life since.
I agree.
Yeah, you've talked about that. I believe that too, quite honestly. And I think it's interesting. You talk about community and the importance of that, and I think it meant everything. Like I looked at it way beyond even sort of what it meant to me, but like where my kids were raised, how they felt a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
They still do. Like they were just actually. Both my girls were home this past weekend and they went to see the high school. Like there's this nostalgia, sort of the way we feel. Here we are 50 years later and they hold it tight. And so do you, and I don't know that everybody does. And I think they need to consider that really because it's important. I love that you point that out. So Jennifer, I mentioned that you're in a book club. I'm just curious, what's the book club reading? I know a lot of people in your book club, by the way.
Well, that is actually not a book club. It's a Bible study.
Okay.
But so we're taking a break for the summer. One of the books that we did say we would read over the summer was a book by Corrie ten Boom called The Hiding Place. You would find it very interesting. It's about a Dutch woman who actually hid Jews in the Holocaust.
Okay.
Yeah. So very interesting. So that's a book we're reading there. And so we'll start back in the fall. We do a Bible study. That's a whole group, about 12 women from the neighborhood that, a lot of them.
And by the way, John, I feel like I think I know like 80% of the women in this Bible study.
Some of them graduated from high school with you.
Yeah. I'm hoping to get an invite. I've been pushing hard for
Old Testament.
right.
Right. No, it's females or women only. Sorry.
I know. But it's 2024 and we will have that whole conversation.
Yeah, we'll think about that.
I think we should push the group a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
And something I like to ask, it's just become my thing. I know that you were there the whole time. I can't express enough how grateful we are, and I am, to all my friends. But I have really had this unique relationship with legacy. I think people know that. I pretty much every day I ask somebody, do you consider it? So I'm curious. We talked a little bit about your career, how you got here and what you want to do kind of going forward. But, what do you think about your legacy? What do you hope your legacy is? Just what are your thoughts about that?
I'm all about relationships. And so I want people to know not what I did, but who I cared for, that I loved well. I loved them well. The people near me and people that I met on a daily basis. Like I said, back to loving God and loving others, like that's what I live by. And so I just look for opportunities every day to show love, whatever it looks like giving somebody a ride somewhere. But that's what the legacy I want to leave.
Well, I can tell you as someone who's experienced that, and I think I speak for a lot of people, I talk about legacy. It's kind of a retrospective. We always think about it in like what somebody did or stories of the past, but I fundamentally believe it's an actionable item. It's something that you're living, and you are doing that. You've been doing that since the day that you arrived, since the day we met you, and for the community, for 75248, for Dallas, I think, obviously for your business. And it's been a real treat, first of all, to have you here, but to introduce friends. That is why we're doing this podcast. We're introducing our friends. Sometimes they're mutual friends. Sometimes it's a new friend.
I love it.
And
that's your connection gift, right?
I'm like you. I do. I love it. It's a currency. And so I'm glad you two know each other now.
Yeah.
It's been a fun conversation. And I think it's given us something to think about. Hope we continue to think about balance, or at least we will. John might dismiss it. But thanks for doing this and for being here. It's been awesome to visit with you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I love it. And I am following you on Instagram now. So
good. Make sure you tell, by the way, make sure you tell all your friends.
I will.
I mean,
share
how fun it was in our neighborhood. I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see that following.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.